Today I'm going to change it up and say something nice about NBA players and their verticals. See, I've made a lot of videos in the past about a lot of players that have made false claims about their verticals, like Wilt Chamberlain, who just outright made up information about his own vertical, or Michael Jordan, whose information was perpetuated by a trainer that he had. A lot of times it's perceived as me hating or something like that, but you have to understand the lens at which I'm looking through it at. I've seen a lot of people with false vertical claims, and typically when people have huge outliers, it tends to be because of mismeasurements, not fully extending the scapula and lowering the other shoulder, things like that when doing vertical measurements, or just using a jump mat which inflates results. As a person who watches jumping every day, I have a lot more context though in what to actually appreciate and what makes someone an impressive jumper. So the reason basketball players, in short, are much better jumpers than people who just have a really high max vertical is because they can dunk off of multiple plants. I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. And I would be a really good counterexample, as I'm somebody who can only jump off of one plant. So for example, what I'm trying to get at here is basically you can either plant left, right, or right, left. If you jump off of 2 feet, I'll demonstrate that in a second with my own videos. Or you can jump off of your left foot off one, or your right foot off one. So there's 4 different ways to plant. Some people can dunk really well off vert, which basically means standing still with absolutely no momentum. Some people count a hop step as an additional plant, but still you're planting with one of your feet first typically and not hitting at the exact same time, so I still think of that as left, right, or right, left. Now I'm first going to explain what each of these looks like before I talk about why basketball players are so good at using multiple plants. So this is what it looks like when someone plants left, right. Basically they push off hard for their penultimate step with their right leg, and then they plant their left foot before their right, and the opposite is true with right left. You want to plant right left if you're a right-handed person because the ball is aligned much better to the rim and it's less likely to fall out of your hand. Dunks also just tend to look a little bit better when you plant right left if you're right-handed, and the same is true if you're a left-handed person and you plant left right. Jumping off your left or right foot when you jump off one is pretty self-explanatory, but here's an example of what one foot jumping looks like. I was a track athlete myself. I was never really able to be that good because I'm not a 1 foot jumper, and you're forced to jump off of 1 foot. So that's kind of like what long jump or triple jump is, and also a way that you can plant in basketball. If you jump off your left foot, of course you're going to have to use your right hand, or if you jump off your right foot, you're going to have to use your left. It looks very, very awkward if you don't do that, and it's just hard to control the ball in general, much more so than the 2 foot jumps. So now that we've discussed what the actual plants are, let's talk about how this applies to NBA players. If you're in a game, you're pretty much going to have to jump off of 1 foot if you're bringing a ton of speed. Unless you're an absolute freak like Ja Morant or Russell Westbrook, we have seen a few guys that can bring a ton of speed into 2 foot jumps, but that's really hard to do. In fact, I would say a 40-inch vertical at max speed with a 2 foot jump is a lot more impressive than a 44-inch vertical if you're just taking 2 or 3 steps. The amount of force you have to be able to handle in order to bring all of that speed is absolutely ridiculous, which is why I make that claim. See, vertical isn't the end-all be-all with jumping. In fact, I think someone like Michael Jordan, who probably is an inch or 2 lower than LeBron in vertical, is still a better jumper because Michael Jordan's really good at jumping off of 1 and 2 feet. LeBron can pretty much only jump off of 1. Granted, in situations that call for 2 foot jumps, LeBron will do them, but on a fast break, pretty much every dunk of his career has been off 1 foot. Now, let's say you were in a situation where you catch the ball, you take 1 dribble and you dunk it. You're pretty much going to have to jump off of 2 feet. Or if you're directly under the basket and you have to jump off vert, of course you're going to go off 2 feet as well. So, different scenarios in basketball call for different types of plants. This isn't really true if you're a professional dunker or a person who just dunks for fun or a person who jump trains for fun. You're pretty much going to practice 1 plant. And granted, there are a lot of pro dunkers that are really good at both, but people are usually very heavy and very dominant if they don't play basketball. For example, in any videos that you see Jordan Kilgannon or Isaiah Rivera dunking, they're pretty much always planting left, right, especially Jordan Kilgannon. Isaiah Rivera, especially because of injuries, has switched to doing some right-left work, but still he jumps much higher going left, right. And someone like Jordan Sutherland is pretty much only going to jump off of 1 foot. There's a reason they call him the 1 foot god. When Blake Griffin was in his prime, he had a 35.5-inch vertical, which sounds kind of low. I mean, it's because other people's verticals are inflated, not because his is actually low. He's 6'9" with a 35.5-inch vertical, and that's absolutely ridiculous. But part of why he got so many dunks was because Blake Griffin was a really good 1 foot and 2 foot jumper. When he's testing his vertical, he actually chooses to jump off of 1 foot, yet most of his dunks in game were off of 2 feet. He planted right, left, by the way. It's the type of thing I used to not notice at all, but now that I'm super into jumping, I cannot even watch a dunk and not notice which plant they're using, even if I see it in real time. So if you comment any NBA player below, I'm sure I could tell you how they plant, probably without even having to refer to a video. And by the way, if you're wondering if there are any players that have used all 4 plants in their career, the only one that I know of is Kobe Bryant, who would plant right, left. He would plant left, right. Left, right was his preferred plant, but he would go right, left when the scenario called for it, like if he was driving from the right side and dribbling with his right hand. And he could also jump off of his left foot and occasionally jumped off his right foot, although it was really those main 3 that he used, which is super uncommon. Now, if you're curious why this is that NBA players are so good at it, obviously, as I explained earlier, different scenarios call for different plants. So if you were doing a chase down block, it would make a lot more sense to bring speed into it and jump off of 1 foot. Granted, for me personally, because I'm so much better at jumping off 2 feet, if I were going for a chase down block, I'd still jump off of 2 feet. If you're going for a rebound, you're pretty much exclusively going to go off 2 feet. If you're going for a dunk with a lot of speed, you're pretty much only going to go off 1. If you're taking 1 step and dunking it or doing a drop step, of course, you're going to have to go off of 2. So the first reason that their plants are more balanced is just because they practice all of the different plants instead of specializing in one. But this is also why you're never really going to see NBA players with verticals higher than like a 45-ish, for example. And you have to realize a marathon runner coincidentally isn't going to hold the world record for bench press for their weight class. That's just not really believable because there's not enough overlap in their training, and a similar thing happens with basketball players and vert jump training. Obviously, they can do plyometrics and heavy lifting and all the things you're supposed to do for vert jump training, but you have to understand that they're never able to truly specialize in the way that someone who's the best in the world at something is going to be able to. The official world record for vertical jump is 50.5 inches, held by Isaiah Rivera. Granted, that's official, so there probably have been some people in the low 50s as well, but you have to understand that people who don't train specifically for something aren't just going to coincidentally hold the world record. Basketball players don't have a regiment, and basketball is not conducive to vertical jump training. Like I said, they certainly do plyometrics and they do all the right things. It's just that they are doing way too much in order to be able to truly specialize. Like, your nervous system can only handle so much. CNS fatigue is the main reason that people can't jump every single day, not because their muscles are tired. So when you have NBA players that are playing 82 games a year, obviously these long training sessions and a long NBA game is just not conducive to vertical jump training. Vertical jump is something that takes less than a second, and that's just not going to be practiced very well in a basketball game where you do it a million times. You have to keep short training sessions if you're doing vertical jump training, which is really good advice to anyone that's starting this out. If you decide that you're going to jump for 3 or 4 hours and that's how you're going to get your vertical up, you're probably not going to get great results. Now, I don't want to ramble on too long about that, but basically the second reason that NBA players are able to plant more balanced is because 1-foot jumpers tend to be a lot more tall and skinny. So the taller someone is, usually the easier time they'll have jumping off of 1 foot. A lot of people just think it's because they're taller, they're closer to the rim, or they're taller so their hips are higher for long jump, for example. But the real reason is just because, for whatever reason, biomechanics happen to favor people who are tall and skinny, and that's almost exactly how all basketball players look. Someone a lot smarter than me can explain to you exactly why that is. Someone like John Evans, if you're curious, I definitely recommend looking him up. He has a lot of really good information about all types of jumping and vertical jump training in general. He's the leader of the program THP, which is of course probably the best vertical jump training program in the world. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you leave a like and subscribe. I make a lot of videos like this where I just talk about NBA players, their verticals, professional dunkers, a lot of stuff like that. I myself do a lot of dunking, and I don't really vertical jump train anymore. I just do the dunking because I just honestly have such a passion for it that I really enjoy doing it. I do have a video coming soon that I'll make about Wilt Chamberlain. Basically, someone dug into the PIAA track archives and proved that a lot of his stats were made up. And this is a common theme with Wilt. It turns out he was pretty insufferable. If you watch some interviews, he had a very large ego and liked to talk about himself. But there are a lot of people who just aren't into that niche and don't realize how ridiculous what he's saying is, and that's more of like a track niche thing than like a vertical jump training niche. I know a lot more about this particular niche, so that's definitely a video I want to make. Let me know if you'd like to see it, and let me know any other video ideas you'd like to see. A lot of people ask me about vertical jump training, and I've made videos before, and I can continue to make more. I learn more and more as time goes on, so I'm sure as I go forward, the quality of the videos and the quality of information will continue to improve. But again, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of the video, and please subscribe if you enjoyed. Thank you.